Hi, welcome back to Under Western Skies. My name's Andy Heath. I'm the Director of Outdoor Programs at Under Western Skies Adventures based in Bozeman, Montana. Today in this chilly mountain environment, we're going to show you how to build a fire. We're also going to talk about the cooking method that we use during our primitive wilderness skills sections of our boys adventure camps. And we'll be demonstrating using what's called a billy pot. Which is just a very small stainless steel pot with a locking lid on the top here. Now, one thing I wanted to point out is that we're actually in about 3.5 feet of snow here. So you can build a fire on top of the snow, especially if you're caught out late in the afternoon, you're in the mountains, you've been cross-country skiing, you probably don't have a shovel with you. You can build a fire right on top of the snow, and it's very easy to do. Really, the only thing you need to do is kind of clear a work area. And I've actually stomped out a platform here that's about 5 foot by 5 foot square with my skis and let the snow consolidate. And actually, it's solid enough to stand on after a few minutes. But we can clear out a small section here, a good flat spot in the snow, and we can build a small platform just using some thicker sticks, and we'll actually build our fire on top of that. Now, when you're building your platform, hopefully you all can see this, when you're building your platform, the best method is to actually kind of stagger it like a log cabin. So you have a few sticks going one direction, and then you'll build a few going the other direction, like so. And this gives you a nice platform to build your fire on top of. And the sticks don't have to be too big, you know, anywhere from pencil size to about the size of your wrist is probably good. So we've got a nice little platform here built out of the snow that we can get our fire situated on. Now, there's a couple methods and things that you can use while you're out here in the backcountry to start your fire with. Fire pretty much needs three things. It needs oxygen and it needs fuel, but two different types of fuel. It needs a fast, hot burning fuel to keep it going in the beginning, to start it, and then it needs a slower burning fuel that doesn't burn quite as hot but will burn longer. Now, there are a few things in this mountain wilderness that work perfectly for those situations, and I've gathered a few of them up here. When you're walking through this wilderness up here, a lot of time in the northwest as well, the Rocky Mountain region, you'll notice that there is a black lichen which grows from a lot of the trees here. Here it grows from the Douglas firs, it grows from the lodgepole pines. Pretty much anything in this environment has this black lichen growing on it. It's actually quite flammable and works as a great tinder. Another great tinder are these dead lodgepole pine leaves here. They're quite flammable, and if you were to look at these underneath a microscope, there's actually tiny little pockets in these particular leaves that hold a resin. This is designed to burn. Lodgepole pines are one of the most important species for fire ecology throughout the West. This thing will go up like a rocket, and I'll actually use a little bit of this when we start our fire. There are a few other little things here. There is a lighter green lichen that often grows with the dark green or the dark black lichen. It's not quite as flammable. It will burn. It tends to smolder a little bit, so it's not as good as the black stuff. Now, I'm going to get up close to the camera here because I want to show you this material that I put into this piece of lichen. Now, this material is actually pieces of pine resin that have bubbled out from the side of the trees, and this stuff is all over the place. Now, remember what I was talking about, a fast burning tinder and a slow burning tinder. This is a combination of the two. So we ignite the black lichen, which burns fairly quickly, which in turn melts and ignites this resin inside, which burns more like a candle, and it'll burn for quite a bit longer. This is a great little fire bundle here. Typically when I'm walking through the woods, I like to always keep my eyes peeled for these things, snatch them off the trees and stuff them in a pocket, because you never know when you're going to use them. So I've made my nice little fire bundle here, and we're going to start by placing that right on top of the platform, and then we'll put some of this dead and dried lodgepole pine needles on top of that. You want to kind of stack them up a little bit so they get plenty of air. I didn't actually have a lot of that material around, these pine needles. Didn't find a lot of it here. So what I've got I'll use, and we'll stack it up so it gets plenty of air in there, and that stuff will just ignite. Okay? It's not necessarily going to look pretty, but that doesn't matter. All we want it to do is burn. The next we're going to move on to very tiny twigs. Now these are very dry. They have a nice firm snap to them. And these are best found close into the trunks of the trees down low, where they're very protected from the elements, from the rain, from the snow. And usually you can find a lot of this material just off of one tree even. Much less a good little stand of trees will provide quite a bit of this. And we're just going to kind of go crazy with this stuff. Right now you don't really want anything bigger, bigger than a pencil certainly. Actually, toothpick size is a little better. The smaller the better. And I'm sure everybody has heard of the TP method, so that's what we're going to use today to start our fire. So we're building kind of a little TP of this very small, thin material. This allows for plenty of air to get into our fire to keep all of this fuel burning. So we'll dig underneath our pile here and pull out some of this really good, fine, dry material. And you can tell, boy, when you break that stuff, it just shatters everywhere. That's a good sign. You want that. Okay, we're back, and now we have our fire put together here. We'll kind of pan around a little bit and let you look at the structure of it. So we've stuck with the kind of our teepee style. It's basically just a big ugly heap, lots of space in there, plenty of room for air, and then down at the bottom here we have our little tinder bundle that I had talked about before. And actually this is, as you remember, it's a little bit of that black lichen with some of the lodgepole pine resin that we picked off of the bark of the tree. So this is going to start our fire for us, and we're going to put a spark to it and see what we get. And with a little bit of luck, we'll have a fire here. So let's see what we get. And it is a little windy, which actually makes for some interesting, challenging fire starting conditions. So we'll keep our fingers crossed and see what we get. No dice. Let's try it again. Now, I do hear a little bit of crackling here, so it sounds like it started to melt our pine resin. I can smell it melted and burning actually. So you'll see that stuff start to bubble and flare, which is good. And it'll burn pretty consistently. Keep our shelter from the wind here. You can definitely smell that pine resin burning. And there's a few little cracks and pops, which is a good sign because that means we've ignited some of our tinder in there. So we actually have burning wood now. Fire is a very delicate thing in the beginning. To think of it like a pet almost. Nurture it. Very nice. So we've got a good heart of our fire building right in here. You can see the center is picking up steam. We can kind of push some of this other material towards the fire. So it'll start to ignite. And there we go. So I'm going to let this burn a little bit, and then we're going to set it up to cook on. And we'll pick up there. Alright, welcome back. So as you can see, our fire is built into a pretty nice hot cook fire now. So we're going to demonstrate our method for using the billy pot and cooking. So this is what's called a billy pot. As you can see, this one's been on quite a few programs. It's a little charred and blackened, and it's got just a very simple steel lid, which actually can be used as a pretty good little frying pan. And it also has a locking bail lid, which is the most important part. Locks over the top and latches like so. So you can lock this closed in case it tips over in the fire. You won't lose your dinner. And another nice feature of this one is it has a little vent hole in the top of it. This is actually a spot where the handle was. The handle's been removed, and this little spot allows for the steam to vent out of the top, which works pretty nice. So at Under Western Skies, our summer camp programs utilize these heavy leather gloves. This is just a basic heavy leather work glove, nothing really special about it at all. But we do some activities that involve carving or using knives, especially when we're building the fire building kits or the bow drill kits. For that, we use our heavy insulated gloves or work gloves to protect our hands. We also use our work gloves while we're cooking with our billy pots. And the nice thing about this is I can reach into the fire, I can turn these sticks over, and I don't have to worry about burning my hands because I'm completely insulated. So, for example, we're going to melt a little water. So we'll just take a little snow. And it actually works best to put a little water in your pot before you put it in, before you put the snow in, because that'll help the water taste better. You can actually burn snow, believe it or not. So we'll latch the top, lock the lid, and we're going to place it on our fire, just like so. Now you might notice that our fire's gone from a teepee style fire to more of what's called a log cabin. Some people would call it a log cabin. We call this gridding the fire. So basically all you're doing is you're creating a platform to put your billy pot on. So these pieces range anywhere from about thumb thickness all the way up to about as thick as my wrist. And they've been kind of interlaced or interlocked here to make kind of this log cabin platform. And it works really well because you can just set your pot right on top. Voila. Now, the real trick is you actually have to watch this pretty closely, because as the logs burn down, turn to ash, things will begin to shift and move around. So you want to make sure you don't spill your billy pot into the fire. Luckily it does have the locking lid, so you're never going to lose your dinner, but you can still tip it over and spill a little water and put out your fire to an extent.